you to bleed for me.
Happy Hockey Tuesday, everybody. That's right. It's time for yet another episode of Shoot, another Flyers show. I'm Christopher Babos with Philadelphia Sports Network, and we're here to talk Flyers hockey. Once again, we've made it to 30 episodes. Started at the beginning of last season, and now we're here in the doldrums of August, and waiting to see how the 25-26 season shapes up. What's next on the docket for the Flyers is going to be training camp. But the Philadelphia Flyers prospects got to work last week. That's right. There's a hockey prospects playing last week at the World Junior Summer Showcase. There's more hockey next week for potential future Flyers prospects at the 2025 Hlinka Gretzky Cup, so we'll touch on that. And then Rick Tocchet, the new head coach for the Flyers, made a special appearance last week on Preston and Steve, the local Philadelphia airwaves. So we'll check in on that. I had a chance to write about that for Center Ice Philadelphia, and I can touch on that a little bit more if you want to check out that article when we reach that topic. And then finally, we'll round out today's episode with gritty Q&A. So let me get a quick sip of water here, and we'll jump into our first topic here, the World Junior Summer Showcase Flyers edition. Ton of prospects. And the Philadelphia Flyers had the most prospects at the World Junior Summer Showcase, which happened last week up in Minnesota, I believe it was. I believe St. Paul. Fairly certain now that I remember the Minnesota Golden Gophers arena being used as well for practices, if not games. But the Flyers had 8 invitations, 7 participants. The lone scratch was Jet Luchenko. He was invited to Team Canada's camp, but just like development camp a month ago, he was held out due to minor injury. That minor injury is now starting to trail on a month plus. So be something to monitor as we get closer to Philadelphia Flyers training camp in September, but it's early August. And there's no need to really ring alarm bells yet. It's not the Tyson Forrester situation. You know he's going to be out, and that kind of bombshell came down in July. So as of now, it just sounds like a minor injury, a long season for Jet Luchenko, a lot of games that he played. Between the OHL, then stepping in to the end of the AHL season in the playoffs. So just giving Jet Luchenko a rest, most likely. I would be stunned if he's not on that World Junior team come December, assuming that Jet Luchenko is not on the Flyers roster. I would think if he's on the Flyers roster, then I don't know you necessarily send him away for 2 to 3 weeks to go participate for Team Canada, but it's also kind of a rite of passage for a lot of these players, and for a player that's watched Team USA, perhaps Canada's biggest rival, lift the cup and wear the gold medals over the last 2 seasons. You would have to imagine that there's a good chance Luchenko would want to go, but again, if he's in the NHL, that could change that scenario entirely. So Jet Luchenko did not participate, but there was one player that did open some eyes, and that was Jack Berglund for Team Sweden. Jack Berglund, a second-round pick last season for the Flyers, number 52 overall in the 2024 NHL draft. He was tied for the league. Well, the league, it was an exhibition of 4 to 5 games. He was tied for the showcase lead in points with 7. He had 4 goals and 3 assists for Team Sweden. He was tied with Team Finland's Atos Koivu, had 6 goals and an assist for the third-round pick for, naturally, the Montreal Canadiens. If you've been watching hockey a long time, his father was an absolute stud for those Canadians. So hoping that they strike gold twice there with the Koivu family, bringing the third rounder in last season for Montreal. And it'll look good in the showcase. What this showcase essentially does is helps the team set up the World Junior rosters for December. Gives them a chance to see some players that they might not otherwise get a chance to look at, or who might otherwise be participating in college or getting started with their OHL season, stuff like that. Get a chance to look at these players before a lot of them then go their separate ways for whatever they're going to end up playing in the 2025-2026 season. So Jack Berglund once again tied for the showcase lead in points with 7 for Team Sweden. Team Finland, who had the leader, Koivu, also had a pair of Flyers on the roster. Heikki Ruohonen was a fourth-round pick from the Flyers for the Flyers in 2024, number 107. He was fifth in the showcase lead in points. He had 5 points with a goal and 4 assists. Max Westergaard, a fifth-round pick from the most recent NHL draft at 132, did not record any points, but did skate in 4 games for Team Finland. You had Porter Martone, number 6 overall in the first round this season, or this past draft for the Flyers, had 2 points in 2 games, goal and an assist. Spencer Gill, a second-round pick for the Flyers last draft, had a point in 2 games. And then, as I mentioned, Jet Luchenko didn't get the chance to participate due to a minor injury that he's been nursing since the end of the season. Of course, Luchenko selected 13th overall by the Flyers last season. And then finally, for Team USA, you had Shane Vinsagi, a second-round pick from this season. He had a point in 4 games with a goal. And then Jack Murtaugh, selected 8 picks before, also in that second round. He had a point in 2 games with an assist. And that's the look there at your look at the World Junior Summer Showcase. And it really is ultimately just an exhibition series. Not too much to be made, but it is players competing in and amongst their peers, competing in and amongst their age bracket level, which doesn't always happen in amateur hockey. So definitely a good test to kind of see where they're at. And if you ask me, I do think that the Flyers have a good prospect in Jack Berglund. It'll be interesting to see kind of how he continues to develop in that system. He can be a very important player for the Flyers. Everybody knows the need for help down the middle for Jack Berglund. So the number 52 pick last season, or last draft rather, for the Flyers, Jack Berglund opening some eyes at the World Junior Summer Showcase. So if you missed the hockey last week and you want to watch some more hockey, well, not this week, but next week, you're going to get a chance to do just that. And that's the 2025 Hlinka Gretzky Cup. The Hlinka Gretzky Cup is an amateur tournament, happens every season. Last season, it was in Edmonton, in Alberta, in Canada. And this season, it's going to be over in Czechia and Slovakia. Team USA is going to be in Group B with Czechia, Slovakia, Sweden, and Germany as they look to avenge a 4th place finish. And the usually highly regarded prospects participate in this Hlinka Gretzky Cup. A couple of local interests for those around the Philadelphia area. You got Blake Zielinski. He's from Berlin, New Jersey. Played for the Des Moines Buccaneers in the USHL last season. He's committed to Providence College in the NCAA. Nathan Bierstock in Hillsborough, New Jersey, played for the New Jersey Rockets under 16 team last season. He's committed within the NCAA as well to Boston College. And then you had Caden Harvey, who is from the middle part of Pennsylvania in Beaver, PA, Pittsburgh Penguins Elite U16 team. He is committed to his local college, and that's going to be a pretty darn good one up there in Beaver, Penn State University, who's going to feature Gavin McKenna, the consensus number 1 overall pick. And if you're interested in NCAA hockey, keep an eye on my social profiles. You can find me at CBabosWrites on X and Twitter, also on LinkedIn under Christopher Babos, MBA. And I'll be covering the NCAA season with feature profiles, able to document what's going on in the NCAA on a month-to-month basis for neutral zone hockey. Um, I'm sorry, for Dover prospects rather. So I'm really excited to get that opportunity to work with Dover prospects and cover the NCAA. See what Gavin McKenna's going to do. See what Porter Martone's going to do up there with Shane Vinsagi at Michigan State. So definitely going to be a fun season to watch in the NCAA. If you've followed me for the last month and a half, you definitely know that's a schedule that I am looking forward to coming up in the fall. So once again, Blake Zielinski from Berlin, Nathan Beinstock from Hillsborough, New Jersey, and Caden Harvey from Beaver, Pennsylvania. Team USA scheduled for 4 games starting on August the 9th. August 9th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. They play Czechia, Slovakia, Sweden, and then Germany. All games will be on the NHL Network, so that'll be fun. Then if you have the opportunity to watch some daytime hockey, you'll get to do that on Tuesday the 12th and Wednesday the 13th as Team USA plays at 3:30 in the afternoon. Moving along here for something that I thought was a really cool um, aspect that it kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. That was Rick Tocchet making an appearance on Preston and Steve, a place that he appeared 20 years ago when he was with the Philadelphia Flyers as a player. Well, he joined Preston and Steve in studio on July 29th. I had the chance to write an article for it. You can check out if you care to do so. That's going to be with Center Ice Philadelphia. Centerice.wordpress.com is where you can check out the article. But Rick Tocchet spent half an hour with Preston and Steve, and really just had a good conversation with the cast and crew about Flyers hockey, about what the winning mentality is that Rick Tocchet's gonna try to help bring to Philadelphia. And if you want to read the entire article, like I said, you can do so on the website. I can drop a link in the chat here. So that you can check that one out as well. But just a couple of quotes from what Tocchet had to say to Preston and Steve on the 29th. And the thing that struck me the most is the passion, the desire to bring back Flyers hockey. Rick Tocchet said, "You got a good group of young players here. I actually think John Tortorella did a nice job here. These guys are a close group. They work hard. So when you're a coach walking into that kind of a program, you got to get it to the next level. We've got to make a stand and get back to Flyer hockey. And that's important. It's something that a lot of Flyers fans want, a lot of Flyers media want, is to see the team be successful. Whether or not that's going to be the case in 2025, 2026 is going to be a sight to be seen. But it's definitely going to be an interesting season. And the Flyers are well positioned for the future as it sits right now, at least based off of what it seems like on who they've gotten to select in the past 2 drafts. A lot of high draft picks, and you saw that with the names that were involved in that World Junior Summer Showcase. Jack Berglund from 2024, Ruhonen 24, Spencer Gill was 2024, Porter Martone this year, Max Westergaard this year, Murtaugh and Vinsagi this year. So, the Flyers definitely do have some notable prospects, and if some of those plan out, things could get pretty exciting. Especially when you consider the Flyers have a lot of opportunity coming their way in the off season next year with a bunch of cap space. And potentially a ton of unrestricted free agents available, but we've seen how that goes. Those deals will most likely be made, and a lot of it will likely start with Connor McDavid up there in Edmonton. and what he ends up deciding to do there with the Oilers. I again would be stunned if he makes it to free agency, but oh lordy, if he did, you have to know that Danny Briere and Keith Jones could use a number one center, especially one as talented as a Connor McDavid. One of the things that Tocchet touched on was playing guys in pressure situations. He said, I've got to play these guys in those situations. There might be times you want to put a Michkov in the last minute in a defending situation. And I want to see him in that situation, not just always offense. Can he defend the puck and help us win a game? That's what great players do. So we've talked about that. We've had a Zoom call with all the players. Everyone's excited. Don't get me wrong, but we've got a lot of work to do here. And it's one of those things that's not lost on Rick Tocchet, on the front office, on a lot of the players. That the Philadelphia Flyers do have a lot of work to do. But it's not all hinging on the 2025-2026 season. Yes, we want success as a fan base. The Flyers fans do want success, but patience is also necessary. It's almost there. They started the addition part in the free agency this offseason, bringing in a couple of, I guess you would call minor names in Christian Dvorak and Dan Vladar, but everything leading up to that was them cutting things from the roster and moving on from players, and the additions have started. So it'll be interesting to see what Danny Briere is able to drum up on the trade market, if anything, heading towards the deadline this year and towards next offseason. One of the things that Ira Tocchet had mentioned about was that while there's a lot of work to do, he understands that it's not a dictatorship with his players. He left Philadelphia 20 plus years ago. He's learned a lot of things in 2 decades, and that's one of the things he's learned as a head coach in the NHL. You know, every day you have to think, eat, drink, winning hockey. Rick Tocchet said to the show, it's a partnership. 20 years ago, most of the coaches was more dictatorship. Do it my way or you're out. Now you join forces with players and you be a partner. And I think that's very important. It's definitely a far cry from at least seemingly the ship that John Tortorella had been steering towards the most of last season, really, during his tenure here. I thought he was an important coach for a very young team. I thought he did very well to instill very important defensive fundamentals. And some of the young players, like Noe Cates, took to that really, really well. Tyson Forrester, another name that I thought took well to that style. And it'd be very exciting to see kind of how John Tortorella, how Rick Tocchet now takes control of that situation, and helps lead that ship of winning hockey. Steve Morrison, co-host of the Preston and Steve Show, asked fairly directly Rick Tocchet to define the nebulous concept of winning hockey and what exactly that is. And Tocchet said, can you have everybody not so much thinking the same way, but playing winning hockey, making the right plays at the right times, sacrificing yourself? Are you trying to get points? Or are you playing winning hockey? Can you lock it down when you're up 4-2? Essentially, Rick Tocchet is saying, are you willing to make a hit to get a puck out of the defensive zone in a clutch situation in the third period? Are you able to absorb contact so that you can make a cross ice pass or a pass back to a defenseman that would pull another defender further out of position? Those things are important in setting up offensive plays and creativity. It's one of the things that I felt Matt Michkov was very good at last season, is being able to make those last second maneuvers or invite a little bit of contact to then move a puck along to somebody in a better scoring area or to create a better scoring opportunity. So I definitely agree with that concept of winning hockey. Yes, it's definitely some coach speak, make the right plays at the right time. What does that mean? I mean, go back and watch the Stanley Cup Finals. Go back and watch the Florida Panthers. That's winning hockey. Matt Michkov might not be a big fan of the dump and chase, but the Florida Panthers played a whole heck of a lot of dump and chase. you kind of need to in the playoffs. And I think that's one of those things that Michkov will learn as he learns to navigate the NHL. Not to be forgotten in all of this is the newcomer for the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's Trevor Zegras. No one really knows what we're going to get from Zegras, but definitely a lot of potential, definitely a lot of excitement there for fans in Flyerland. And Tocchet spoke on whether he should pair the two together. He said, "We just acquired that Michkov kid, right? Fun-loving kid with Michkov. They're talking about doing the fancy Michigan play from around the net. I don't mind that stuff just as long as it doesn't get in the way of winning hockey. It's one of those things that it kind of did for the first 20, 25 games, you would think, from Matvei Michkov. He was consistently going for that wraparound, those Michigan attempts. He got a couple of them to go, not necessarily the Michigan itself, but a couple of those weird angle goals that shouldn't have had a chance to go in. Banked one in off a goalie skate, banked one in off his shoulder from behind the goal line, if I remember correctly. So, excuse me, he definitely has the skill to do it, as does Trevor Zegras. But it's really going to be a team first mentality, and one of those things that it's going to be very important for what's still a relatively young Philadelphia Flyers lineup. Honestly, I mean, if you take a look at the Flyers and what they're looking at bringing into the season, you got a 28-year-old Travis Konechny, 32-year-old Sean Couturier, 29-year-old Christian Dvorak. Owen Tippett's 26, Zegras 24, Noah Cates 26, Bobby Brink's 24, Alex Bump can make the roster at 21, Michkov at 20, Abel's at 29. He's older, but he's basically brand new to the NHL. On the back end, Sanheim's 29, York's 24, Bristol Line's 30, Sailor's 32. So you've got some veteran leadership there. Jamie Drysdale's 23. Potentially someone that could find another level under a Rick Tocchet system. Igor Zamola's 25 as well. So you definitely have some potential for growth within that top 20 for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then, of course, you've got the 25-year-old Sam Ersson, who the Flyers hope can take a step, who the Flyers hope can be a number one goaltender, provided he has somebody that can spell him if he needs to for a couple of games at a time. And honestly, to that point, Dan Vladar said he wasn't exactly thrilled when Dustin Wolf took the net in Calgary. So he could push for an opportunity to take that starting job for the Flyers. So it could get interesting in 2025, 2026. And make no bones about it, the reason Rick Tocchet is here is because he believes in the plan that Keith Jones and Danny Briere have built. And it's basically of his former teammate in Arizona. Tocchet said he's a great guy, really methodical, really smart. I looked at the plan. You could tell it's a well thought out plan, and depends upon what you want and how much Flyers content that you consume. Jim Jackson joined PHLY Philadelphia, PHLY Flyers last week as a co-host for Charlie O'Connor, and he was talking about how the Flyers haven't deviated from the plan. And very straightforward, this is how we're going to do it. And excuse me, Danny Briere has stuck to his guns. And I think a Trevor Zegras trade in and of itself helps to point to sticking to that plan, not overpaying for prospects, not overpaying for players just to get them here. Obviously, I think I guess I can't say obviously. It seems pretty obvious that Trevor Zegras and John Tortorella would not have worked in Philadelphia. We'll never know because the trade didn't happen until this offseason, but that's just a situation that I don't think ever would have happened. But with Rick Tocchet in town, a fresh slate, and could be a good change of scenery for Zegras. So I, for one, am very excited to get to training camp in September and see what he has to offer to the Philadelphia Flyers. And and the skills that we don't necessarily get to see for a guy that was playing out in Anaheim when a lot of us East Coasters were asleep. So, um, a very interesting conversation there with Rick Tocchet on the Preston and Steve show. You can find that on their website. Preston and Steve is on YouTube as well. So you can find that episode. I want to say it was the July 29th episode. It was about midway through. And it was about a half an hour conversation and just a real chill talk. And I thought Rick Tocchet was very open and honest and forthright. Um, it was very, very clear that there's some work to get done, but excited for the opportunity that he has here in Philadelphia. All right, and finally, we'll wrap up here with gritty question and answers. Sam checked in via email. He said, "Who do you think Tocchett's coaching skills will help the most on the Philadelphia Flyers roster?" Well, first and foremost, thank you very much, Sam, for the email and for checking in on Gritty Q&A. If you'd like to be featured, send us an email as well. You can find me at cbabosrights@gmail.com, or you can drop it on the Twitter, on that X machine, as the kids, well, some kids call it, at C Babos Writes. And if you have any Flyers related questions or NHL related questions, send them my way, and we'll go ahead and answer them here on Shoot Another Flyer Show. As for who I think his coaching skills could hope the most, I think Jamie Drysdale is the one I have the highest hope for. Whether or not that's a reasonable expectation for him to take a major step under Rick Tocchet is tough to say. You saw what Quinn Hughes did in Vancouver, and it's you can't exactly compare the two. You can't compare a Jamie Drysdale to a Quinn Hughes, but perhaps there's some things that Rick Tocchet learned along the way that he can help pass along to a Drysdale, and it's one that the Flyers kind of need that trade to pan out if it all things work out. They had to trade Cutter Gauthier. They did the best that they could do in the situation, getting Drysdale and some picks. Drysdale's 23 years old, right-handed defenseman, harder to find. Um, and if he can get pucks through, and if he can improve his offensive capabilities and still stay pretty consistent on the defensive end, then the Flyers might have something there. So I think Jamie Drysdale would be my top answer for that. Uh, Again, similar situation for being Matt Michkov, see Brock Besser, and what Rick Tocchett's potentially able to do with a star winger, and what he's able to do and potentially put Matt Michkov in situations to potentially help himself and help him, generate even more points than he was able to generate last season. 19 goals, 22 assists in the KHL, and then he had 80 games last season, 26 goals, 37 assists, 63 points. So you got a 70, 80, dare I say, 90-point season out of a Matt Michkov. I think you're pretty happy. Uh, excuse me. And I think the Philadelphia Flyers will likely have a fairly good record if they're able to get 80, 90 points out of it, Matt Michkov. So once again, Sam, thank you very much for the question. And that'll pretty much do it for this episode, an off-season edition of Shoot Another Flyer Show, episode number 30. I've been your host, Christopher Babos, Philadelphia Sports Network. You can also catch me on Center Ice Philadelphia, where I'll be writing about the Flyers this season. Still have the content for the Phillies and the Eagles coming your way all season long for Metro Philadelphia and PSN. And then, of course, you've got the NCAA action coming your way with Dober prospects, and a lot of exciting hockey content coming your way from yours truly, coming in 2025, 2026. So thank you very much for sticking with me on this off-season edition of Shoot Another Flyer Show. Once again, I'm Chris Babos, and I'll catch you later for the next episode of Shoot Another Flyer Show. Take it easy, everyone.
I want you to bleed for me.